What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, and today we're showcasing the weapon perk High Caliber Rounds and really going in depth into exactly what it does. Now, the reason I'm making this video is that firstly, there has been a bunch of extremely powerful and meta-shifting weapons added into the game with the rise of Iron. The Blind Perdition Trials of Osiris Pulse Rifle is one of them, the Clever Dragon Pulse Rifle from Iron Banner, the Distant Star Scout Rifle. All of these weapons are insanely powerful and very, very good. I've done videos on all of them. And interestingly enough, all of them spawn or can spawn with high caliber rounds. And often when I'm talking about these weapons, I'm citing High Caliber as one of the best perks you can have, increasing flinch on opponents and letting you win those 1v1s. But I was actually asked by a fan saying, okay, can you actually explain what exactly High Caliber does? We all know generally what it's supposed to do, but what are the exact effects that you gain from using High Caliber rounds? And I actually saw that and thought, you know, that's a pretty good idea, so that's what I'm doing in today's video. So, let's get started. Now, high caliber rounds actually affect your weapon in a couple of different ways. The first way, and the main way, is of course the increase to flinch, which I'm sure most of you are interested in. Now, what exactly is flinch in Destiny? Well, flinch in Destiny is the same as flinch in most other first-person shooters, and it's the effect that when you shoot an enemy with your weapon, they are going to essentially recoil upwards and usually to the right or left in response to getting shot. So when you're shooting an enemy, they don't just stand there stagnant with no effect. Their weapon sights will bounce around, and they will usually also get some sort of effect, you know, a blood appearing on screen to let them know they're being shot. Every weapon in Destiny will inherently cause its own amount of flinch. The amount of flinch you gain when getting hit with a certain weapon usually depends on that weapon's damage. As you can see here, when I'm shot with a hand cannon, the Iron Banner very powerful hand cannon, I get a decent amount of flinch. When I'm shot with one shot from an auto rifle, it's almost no flinch for that singular shot. Now, of course, the auto rifle makes up for it for shooting a lot more times very fast, and that flinch usually builds upon itself, so my sight would be, you know, pretty far upwards if I was getting shot constantly with that auto rifle. But the single shot flinch is determined upon damage of that single shot. Now, flinch is very important because if you're shooting an enemy and they are flinching, that means their sights are bouncing around, and if they're shooting at the same time, you can cause them to miss. If you can control your flinch and the opponent can't, and they're missing and you're not, you're simply going to win that gunfight most likely. High caliber rounds helps in this aspect. It increases the inherent flinch of a weapon by a certain factor, helping you win gunfights over your opponents by causing them to flinch more. But exactly how much more? Well, we tested it. Now I'm getting shot here with the Trials of Osiris Pulse Rifle, the Blind Perdition. It has high caliber rounds, and you can switch between high caliber rounds and hand loaded. This is what happens when I'm shot with hand loaded, so no high caliber rounds in effect. And then this is what happens when I'm shot with the exact same weapon with high caliber rounds active. And you can clearly see I gain a little bit more recoil, I'm flinching a little bit more with high caliber rounds active. And in fact, let's see exactly how much more flinch I gain. This is a comparison between one of the non-high caliber bursts on the left and one of the bursts with high caliber on the right. You can very clearly see the two yellow lines represent the difference in flinch upwards when I'm shot with non-high caliber, and then the bottom yellow and the top red line is the difference in vertical flinch when I'm shot with high caliber. You can also just clearly see that the sight moves a little bit more to the left as well. So high caliber is working here. It causes more flinch. But you may be saying, well, that doesn't look like very much flinch, and it isn't. Flinch actually has a little bit of what seems like inherent randomization built into it. Sometimes you flinch a little bit more than other times. So this is another example, and a much more obvious example, of a shot without high caliber to the left and with high caliber to the right. And you can see with the same graph, the red line representing how high the sights go with high caliber, and the two yellow lines representing the normal non-high caliber flinch. And you can see clearly I'm getting a lot more flinch with high caliber. Moving on, you can also see the effects of high caliber when I'm zoomed in with this sniper scope. I'm shot here without high caliber and you can see the scope react appropriately. And then with high caliber, you can clearly see the sniper scope flinch upwards even more. Now, because there is a little bit of an inherent randomization to the amount and the direction of flinch you gain when shot, it's pretty much impossible to detect the exact amount that high caliber increases your flinch by. However, from these tests, we can very clearly determine that high caliber is working as intended. It increases the flinch you cause, actually pretty substantially. You can both visually notice just the amount of flinch you're getting just by looking. You can see, wow, I'm flinching more, and also there is a clear measurable amount that flinch is increasing. And frankly, from my testing, I would have to say that my opinion on high caliber rounds as a perk remains unchanged. Before I made this video, I would highly recommend it as a very useful perk to help you win your 1v1 gunfights, and after testing, I would still recommend it. The amount it increases flinch is pretty noticeable. However, that's not the only thing high caliber rounds actually does. Another thing it affects is actually the handling and the range of your weapon. After the introduction of the Weapon Balance Patch 2.4, all of the ammo perks, high caliber rounds, armor piercing rounds, and skip rounds now have increases to range and other effects as well. High caliber will increase your range by +3 and lower your handling by -5. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, in Destiny, your handling affects your weapon aim down sight speed, swap speed, and other just general mobility factors for your weapon, so expect those to be slightly slower when using high caliber rounds. And for a range increase of +3, what exactly does that look like? Well, I actually had an auto rifle with high caliber rounds and snapshot, and I could actually test the range difference between taking on and off high caliber rounds. This actually doesn't happen all the time because usually high caliber rounds exist in a perk tree where swapping to something else impacts range as well. So as you can see, with this Extremophile auto rifle, I'm shooting my opponent at this distance, and this is the maximum distance without high caliber rounds. And then I switch to high caliber rounds, and I'm still looking for that 20 damage maximum, and I barely move at all before getting 19. Frankly, the high caliber rounds range bonus for this auto rifle was quite literally a foot. As you can see here of me testing it, I got basically 1 foot of extra range from high caliber. So don't expect high caliber to give you any substantial bonus in terms of range. It gives you a very, very slight bonus, a barely measurable bonus, but a bonus nonetheless. But again, don't think high caliber rounds is going to impact your range stat by anything substantial. If you are looking to put high caliber rounds on, you should be solely looking to gain the benefit of increased flinch and basically nothing else. Now, as for the handling decrease that high caliber rounds causes, how much of an effect does this have on your weapon? Now, as for the decrease to handling that high caliber rounds causes, what kind of a decrease is it? How much does that affect your weapon? Well, I actually tested out a few weapons that have high caliber rounds, my Blind Perdition, Trials of Osiris Scout Rifle, and I actually also have a Zombie Apocalypse with high caliber rounds, and frankly, I noticed no difference. Just like the range increase was extremely minor, this is also going to be an extremely minor decrease to your handling. Again, I noticed no difference in my aim down sight speed, in my swap speed. I'm sure if I put it side by side, I might notice 1 frame of difference, but frankly, that would just fall within the margin for error. And that range bonus is so small, it shows you how much of a tiny difference the handling bonus is going to make as well. There is definitely a difference, but it's nothing noticeable. It's nothing worth concerning yourself over. And so guys, that's gonna wrap up an in-depth look into the high caliber rounds weapon perk. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it informative. Now if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you want to see more Destiny content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. Now if you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.